Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's Nature Connection show with Nancy and Lisa, with the crazy mother-daughter travel team on the Love Your Parks tour. And every fourth Friday, along with our special guest co-host, fine art nature photographer Margot Carrera, we talk about the environment, we talk about wildlife, we talk about trees, we talk about the ocean, nature, all that good stuff, and really focus on what we can do to help Mother Earth, Mother Nature, and also mitigate climate change. And today's special guest is Dr. Patricia Mechael, and she's joining us to talk about her new middle grade book. It's called The Antidotes, Pollution Solution. It is super cool. It comes out October 4th through Bold Story Press. However, you can go and pre-order it on Amazon, which is really good for authors. So do it, especially on their Kindle side of it. But the book is really about classmates and women who use STEM to working together using STEM practice. So this is something we want to talk about is girls and women in science. Anyway, they work together to save their town's water supply, which is part of the Chesapeake Bay. So you can go to patriciamechael.com, and that's MECHAEL.com. So welcome, Patty. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you on the show, and welcome back, Margot. How are you doing? How's San Diego?
San Diego is heating up.
See, Patty, we need to get the fifth graders out there. Tell them to cool it down for us. It's hot here in Madison, Wisconsin, where we are today. When this airs, we'll be in North Carolina, feeling swampy on a farm. But is it warmer than normal for you, Patty, up in the DC area?
It is. Washington, D.C. is feeling very balmy today. So
let's all go. We need to all go for a swim. That's what we need to do. But I love that your book is focused on the Chesapeake Bay because it's such an important water source. It's kind of like in the West, we always think about the Colorado River is so crucial to California, Arizona, and beyond, really, with the waterways, and not just for the environment, but for the people. So tell us a little bit about why you chose Chesapeake Bay. And, so this water, this big piece of water is important for the environment, but it's also important for people, right?
It is. And it's the Chesapeake Bay is absolutely beautiful. So I don't know if you've ever been to the Chesapeake Bay. And I think similar to a lot of other water sources and natural water sources, it is increasingly experiencing challenges and shifts in the ecosystem that are being caused by pollution. And so I wanted to create a story that was a local story. So I'm based in Washington, D.C. The Chesapeake Bay is our, closest water source, and because it does run into the Atlantic Ocean, and it has all of the challenges of being a source of water that is very close to major cities, it does experience a lot of challenges, and the sea life is changing in the Chesapeake Bay as it is in other water sources throughout the world. The water is getting warmer. Fish are coming in closer to the shoreline. They are becoming much more subject to pollution. And in the case of the Antidotes pollution solution, we decided to take sort of one aspect of pollution that is particularly troubling, and that is plastic, and especially single-use plastics, which it takes 5 seconds to drink a bottle of water, and yet it takes hundreds of years for that single bottle of water to get decomposed. And so really wanted to focus in on an issue that is impacting our local our local water source.
And also with it being plastic, I know it
Mhm.
ends up in animals and fish,
Mhm,
pieces
for
of
sure.
plastic. We've done, watch a lot of documentaries on it. And one thing that makes me nervous is we all now know drinking bottled water has health implications for cancer, for all kinds of things because of the plastic actually heating up. And as temperatures are heating up, does the plastic, do you think, I know you've got this huge background in public health. It's like her public health history is massive. I just get to use this word now.
You have to use the word.
Massive. It's massive. It's my new
Mhm.
word. But can the heating up of water affect the plastic that's in the water so that there's toxins leaching out of the plastic?
Absolutely, absolutely. And when we were, I mean, it is, and because we're not testing and we're not tracking people's environmental risk in a very systematic way, we don't know what the harmful effects that is having
Whoa.
on us as individuals and as a society. And so I think it's I unfortunately had a situation, I want to say 11 years ago where I, got an autoimmune illness. And then as I started to read up on autoimmune illnesses, a lot of autoimmune illnesses are caused by environmental factors. So chemicals that we're, trace chemicals that we're consuming, whether it's in food or in water, all of these things. And I think it's really interesting now to see some of these like conditions, chronic health issues that are coming up directly from bad water. And bad water is the sort of the original public health, like the
Yeah,
field of public
Absolutely.
health came from, the cholera epidemic in the United Kingdom, and John Snow and the work of John Snow. And they have the hand pump of the water source at the London School of Hygiene where I did my PhD. And so you can go visit like the hand pump where they tracked the
but take
original
hand
source of the
sanitizer
cholera
if you-
outbreak.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
have to use sanitizers if you use the hand pump now.
Well, exactly. But it's interesting because we're not being very thoughtful about like how we produce things and how we consume things, and really considering the knock-on effects that it might be having on our health, as well as the health of animals. And there's such a huge myth around recycling where people think that somehow, recycling is the thing that's going to solve us. But most things that get put into a recycle bin never get recycled, and they end up in, the bellies of fish. And we've all seen those images. And it's really sad that we've kind of, we aren't taking responsibility for the planet and the planet's health and the health of animals. And as a result, it is now coming back to impact human health in a very negative way. And so
I think the water things, I love that you're really focusing on that, because I mean, we've done so many shows about oil spills, what happens, out in the Gulf, and talking about how all of this has got and created harmful algal blooms in our oceans. And I'm thinking even the Chesapeake Bay probably has that. Even, some of there's plastic, and then it's from agriculture. When we were in Yuma, Arizona, and the Colorado River, it's right at the bottom of the Colorado River, before it goes into Mexico. And so it's huge on agriculture, and they're getting more and more organic. However, all these invasive species came because of what was being grown in agriculture. And so at the very lower part, which is part of the heritage area, the Yuma Crossing National Heritage Area, they went in, they started taking and restoring the habitat to what it was. and cleaning out the plastic in the ponds, because you'll see fish and birds come out with fish. Even everyone's, if you're going to go fishing, people take your little bubbles out and
Yeah,
stop leaving
really.
these little red bubbles all over for a fish to get them hooked.
You
and
see them in
birds.
trees. Remember, we've
It's-
seen them in trees when somebody's doing their casting, and I guess they weren't that good at it. And it ends
Yeah.
up in a tree and they just leave it there.
Right. So they
It's like,
started really cleaning this up,
come on.
and we went on a canoe trip, and as soon as you hit the zone of where they've restored it, it was like a wall of wildlife and birds. It's like no one was here. As soon as you crossed in, you could see the difference in the plant life, and all the birds were there immediately. I've never seen anything show me such a strong example of importance of restoration, cleaning up the environment. And now it's a place. The beaver have come back, and people didn't realize we used to have beaver in southern Arizona. All these birds and species that were almost endangered are coming back. And yet at the same time, humans are playing in the water, and here's a beaver, here's the birds. So this coexistence is happening, and they managed to build most of the park on top of a landfill and put in a solar farm and a solar garden, but so these kind of things I really believe can happen. We can reverse this, and you can be like the fifth graders
Absolutely
in your
can.
book. And I think empowering kids to make these changes gives them a feeling of hope when it's really tough for kids right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And kids are subject to like the bad decision making of grown-ups, right? And so and that's where this story came from. And it came in conversations with my now 10-year-old son, who when we started the Antidotes pollution solution, he was 8. I sort of was brainstorming a middle grade fiction book because I was told that there was sort of a gap in smart middle grade fiction. And I thought I had this ready-made audience that I could kind of use as my test case for the story. And instead what I got was a very opinionated writing collaborator who had very strong
That's cool.
thoughts on the characters and on the story and what kids could do and should do. And it became a really fun project to work on during the pandemic with
That's cool.
with my son. And I think what really encouraged me was just how how fair he is. And so one of the themes in the book is about, girls in science, technology, engineering, the arts and math. And he was like, that stinks if things aren't fair for girls or women don't get the same leadership positions that men do. He's like, that just doesn't make sense. And so what really struck me in working on this book with him was just the fairness and the responsibility, I think, that young people take and have and can and should act upon. And so all of the science in the book are things that kids can do. And so we were very particular. We did not want to put anything in there that, a fifth grader like couldn't and shouldn't do on their own. So, testing your water, kids can do. Use less plastic, kids can do. Encourage, social media, encourage their friends to do the things that they're doing to use less plastic and to be more thoughtful about clean water. We're all sort of things that young people could do, working together in teams of boys and girls and really figuring that out was an important theme in the book. So there's some tension between the male narrator and the female narrator, and they have to come to grips to work together on a common a common goal.
So basically, all of these arguing adults that we have in the world right now should read the book and learn to
they
work
really
together as a
should. They
team.
really should. I mean, I look at my son, and in his like little pinky, he has more, empathy and thoughtfulness than a lot of our current leaders. And he gave me the best line, my favorite line in the book. Is that no kid would ever let another kid die if there was something they could do to prevent it.
Wow.
And to me, when looking at, the last few years and the pandemic and how numb we've become to numbers of sick people or death or any of those things, behind each and every one is a human being, and we should be caring about them in the same way I think that like kids really care about each other. And I think kids are genuinely concerned for the planet. They see these things happening, and I think we need to not just view kids as little humans that need to be cared for, but like little humans whose energy we need to harness and really support to do the things that they can do to make their world and our world a better place.
Well, if you think of all the fifth graders around the world, right, across the country, around the world, that could get involved and start making these changes in their backyard. I mean, it's going to impact whole families, which means whole communities. So it can really start a movement. And like as said earlier, the responsibility for kids to hold on to something and know that they can make a positive change is everything. I know that when you don't do and you have no tools to move forward on something that's negative, it just festers negativity and it's not fun for the kids. And I wanted to turn to Margot. What did you think? Here we are, another kids book, but kids are a part of this, of these solutions we need.
I really do believe that the next few generations are a part of the solution. Not that I think we're putting it upon them. I mean, it's there. And I see in my granddaughter who's visiting me right now, they really want to make a difference. She's going into marine biology and she wants to make a difference in the oceans. And
Cool.
And
Nice.
You said, I loved what you said about we're not here just to raise these children, but we can learn from these children. These children are wise and they come in with their own gifts and way of looking things that our generation obviously didn't. And so now they come in with wisdom that they can share with us. And it's just amazing. I just recently, I was just thinking about the water in your book. It's so perfect because I don't think we're talking enough about it.
Absolutely.
Though not only are plastics, at the bottom of the sea, but it's getting into, they're breaking down and getting into our drinking water. So we're taking on that even without drinking from plastic bottles. And also for industry, if they pollute the water, they're really doing themselves a disfavor and their next generation, because we need the water to be pure, because I don't forget how many percent water we are, but we need to drink a lot of water. And our lakes need to be clean and our rivers need to be clean. And I don't think we're thinking about it, because I just got a survey from the government asking me what do I think is important. And they gave me a long list of things that they could work on, and not one word about the water issue. But they gave me a place to write it in. And guess what I wrote in? Clean water. Clean water.
This is huge. Look at what happened in Flint, Michigan. Here we are, the land of Great Lakes, and we were just in Michigan, and like everybody's looking at me because we had a gathering of friends and family, and I'm getting these messages out of saying, what can I pick up on the way in? water, water, water. And then I'm going, I'm getting bottles of water that are in plastic. None of this is making sense. We're not, what are we going to do, But the water thing is a huge deal with Nancy and I traveling full time across the country and pet sitting. So, you're always going to hear a dog somewhere,
Mhm.
or a bird or a donkey, you never know. And the tortoise tends to keep quiet, but
Mhm.
we are in different waters all the time. And so,
Yes.
yes, I have permanently got a bad hair day. And I will tell you
It's
this, that
interesting.
the water our bodies are going through this
Mm.
constant shift in water and change. Your skin
Mhm.
changes, not necessarily for the positive. I don't think we'll ever have clean, glowing skin again from what we are doing. And this is a real thing.
It's
And I wish
weird.
yeah,
Some of it you can't even feel like you're rinsed off.
it's a very weird thing.
It's
And
weird.
when we lived in Arizona, we would get, and they would send in like about your water, in sampling your water. And sometimes you'd actually have like rust and sand come out of your
Arsenic.
faucet. And so, the water companies, this is a big deal because you've got to hold their feet to the fire. Erin Brockovich, look what happened in Hinckley outside of Barstow. Well, guess what? She fought, she won, and it's back on again. And when you drive through Hinckley, it is the most terrible places to drive through in this country. It is desolate, it is polluted, and it has got that creepy, like, don't breathe in the air, you're going to get sick kind of vibe. So I just, this water, you're talking about testing water, kids could test water. Tell us a little bit about that and what can Nancy and I do? I mean, our hair's in trouble.
I'm older.
Yeah.
Look at mine.
Yours looks good, but I mean, not only have I cut it for a long time, but yeah.
I think we all need to better understand what it is that we're consuming, how it is all
Wine.
tied
Safer.
together.
Yeah.
And we need to become louder advocates for, clean water. And I mean, clean water is the fundamental like public health issue. It started the field of public health. It is the ultimate public, because you are what you consume, right? Like
Mhm.
we become subject to whatever it is that we are consuming. And so, if it has trace chemicals in it, toxins in it, rust, like, no, like this is unacceptable. And it doesn't have to be that way. The thing is, and this is the kicker, is that we know what needs to happen to do something about it. I mean, that's what kills me about, Flint, Michigan, is you don't have to be bringing in bottled water, right? They need to figure out how to get clean water, like clean the water supply.
Isn't this kind of what
Yeah.
the government is supposed to do in protecting and for the
Well,
people kind of thing? So we need to be the stewards of our land and water and nag the government because we pay them. We pay our tax money to them,
Mhm.
And the public utilities. So when something's a public utility, that means I don't want to use the word entitlement because it gets misused, but we are entitled to fresh water.
We are.
As human beings on this planet, and clean water. And, if we have clean water, then the ecosystem will have better water for the nature, for, the fish, the birds, all of that. But if we don't have it, they don't have it. And so this does affect what is happening with climate change, right? This is the other part of it that we ignore, that it's,
Well, and we're creating new health conditions and diseases and all of that. When you look at just the changes in the environment and what's happening to, if fish are consuming plastic, I mean, even though, we took a sort of a plastic eating bacteria experiment gone bad, and kind of turned it into our, our thing. But even without that, just fish consuming plastic, then going into our food supply, then going into, it's all of these things like interplay together and impact the ecosystems. They impact the animals in them. They have an effect on on humans, and more of the health issues that we are currently facing, and the last set of, you know, global epidemics and pandemics have largely been animal human disease conditions that have triggered these things. And it is because of changes in the environment.
So like, what
And-
about, look at mad cow disease, you know, that was a human, I mean, that, and now look at COVID, animals have COVID now. There are deer walking around with COVID.
SARS, you know,
Yes.
avian flu, you name it, you
The
know.
bird
My
flu, yeah.
one of my classmates, who we shared an office at the London School, we were both doing our PhDs. She's a animal human, she's a veterinarian by training, and she's a zoonotist. And I enlisted her help because the original disease pathway in this book was really, really complicated, and everybody told me I had to simplify it. And so, I was like, okay, what's a good animal human, you know, thing that we could do, but that, like, you know, kids could help with and would be realistic. And so she helped me out with this one. But like, she'll get called to, you know, Brasilia to, you know, look at the monkey population because there's an outbreak of yellow fever that's about to spread into the human population. And these conditions are coming out of this sort of like, the change in the environment is bringing, you know, animals are coming closer to where humans live. Animals, you know, including the fish, they are coming closer and closer to the coastlines because their food systems have been completely disrupted and they're looking for food. And so, you know, all of these things intersect with each other, and the major trigger is man-made pollution. And we are doing ourselves a disservice by continuing to, you know, accept the mythology that we can recycle plastic, because that's a myth. Plastic does not get recycled. It ends up in
Water.
in fish, in water supplies, and, you know, in whatever. We need to just stop. We need to take it to stop. We need to
And plastic is also made,
less.
but it's also made from oil.
Yeah.
It's
I
also made
read
from
somewhere
oil.
that we ship most of our discarded plastic to China. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
But and I don't know what they do with it. Maybe they just go, oh, toss it back at them. Who knows?
There's a lot of stories about where our recycling is supposedly
Yeah.
going, but it
I
is
don't know
also
where it's-
using oil. I mean, there's things, there's plastic that are, you know, that is important for limbs, like, you know, and things like that. In medicine, there are actual things that, you know, I'm sure the rod in my arm has got some plastic something somewhere. So, but we're also, because of plastic, drilling for more oil to make the plastic, which is another big issue of what we're doing. And the less we do of these kind of, you know, fuels, the cleaner the air is going to be, the cleaner, and we don't have to have as many wars and all of that too. You know, going back into, you know, the pollution and what's happening now with the animals coming in and closer because we're taking away their habitat. So the earth is heating and changing in temperature. So a lot of animals are moving according to that. Like whales are off because of the, you know, some water they need to do breeding in the cooler water, the warmer water. So all of that's changing. Bird migration is changing. We have watched what has happened to just the climate change in wetlands. We have been to some of the top wetlands in this country at the exact time is supposed to be the waterfowl time. Like these are the top places in Texas, in New Mexico, and there be nothing but dust devils.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No water.
No water, but dust devils, and filmed them. And I don't know what to do with all that stuff, but I'll do something, which is really sad. But as we heat up water goes away. Some areas get water it's not
Mm.
supposed to have. So some people are having heating issues in that they're getting too hot and their houses aren't even prepared with AC. So we have all these problems that affect our health. But what about, like, as we heat, are there viruses that would have stayed dormant until the temperature change? Like, you know what I mean? Could something come up and go, hey, I'm going to be the new pandemic. I've been waiting a million years to get you. You
Well,
know?
that's and
Okay.
that's the sort of the unknown, right? We don't know. We have a sense that is what is going to happen. That when you think about the permafrost in Alaska, and there's a lot of organisms and microorganisms that exist underground that will start to come up. We have, increases in mold and fungus and, you name it. It's there and it's impacting people's lives. But these things, I think what's interesting with some of these things is that these environmental exposures are slow in having an effect on human life. They're kind of like the slow invaders, and so we're not like as fussed about those, right, as we are about something like monkeypox, or like the COVID outbreak. And then even for something like COVID, like, we don't take it seriously enough to
Well, we've
we
known
know
about
what needs to happen, and we still don't do the things that we know we need to do about them.
We've known
We
about
know-
water
yeah,
problems for over 40, 50 years. I'm
We
sorry, I
know.
learned this in high school.
Yeah.
We had pollution problems when I was in high school. We had we had droughts, we had water problems when I was in high school. Now, so many years later, maybe 10, no, so many years later, nothing has really changed.
It's
Other
just gotten
than
worse.
we still let the big corporations make it worse.
and I think enough is enough. I mean, honestly, and I
Really,
think young
it's
people also
ridiculous.
think enough is enough. And so, I wish we could get, more youth leagues in government, and get the voices of young people to become much more prominent in impacting, policy change. And
Mhm.
but there seems to be this kind of like disconnect between the people in positions of authority and power and, the general population. And there's just more and more kids, right? So, there's 2 billion children on the planet, and we are not doing them any favors. And I think we now need them. I think we now need them to get much more
Well,
actively
and the
involved.
corporations need to grow up on this too, because
Yeah.
this is their future employees.
And their kids.
You know what I mean?
Their own
this is their-
kids.
Yeah, and there are kids. I mean, I don't have children, but I care. I mean, that's why I do what I do, is care for them, in my way. So I think what you've done with the antidotes, I think this is so exciting, because you're giving, because we could get all upset. Nancy and I are already getting riled up. We're both good.
I know.
Who can I call now?
Mm.
What can I sign? But it is, you're bringing home, stop with the plastics. Don't do the plastics. Just stop it. You don't need it. Just stop it. And whatever you have, just keep reusing if you can, unless it's toxic to you. Then get the kids together, like you're saying, do things locally. And that is, the one thing we can all do is just go in our backyard. What can we do in our backyard, in our community, to make an impact right there and then? And if all the kids, everyone needs to read your book, and they do it across the country, it's going to make a huge shift, but it is that, think global, act local. I think that's where we're back to that slogan and that saying, and just need to do it, so I think you've got some just really positive things. I do want to go back to testing water, because you say kids can do this. So what do people do to test water? Because I think this is a cool thing. If adults and kids did it as a family, let's test our water.
Yep.
And then say yay or uh-oh. And if it's an uh-oh, let's start writing letters, knocking on doors.
Yeah.
That could be something, again, to
You
stand
can
up
buy
again.
water test kits on Amazon. Anybody can order, or in your local, Walmart, etc. There are, water testing kits that, you can go and buy and have an understanding or appreciation for what is in your water. Is there bacteria in your water? Are there chemicals in your water? Are there, and these things have gotten, I mean, they used to only be available in labs, and you would have to like lab test your water and all that. But now anybody can test their water.
So Nancy, we need a kit.
Pools, people with swimming pools test their water all the time.
Absolutely.
So I walk into the kitchen and test that.
Yeah,
Yes,
Nancy,
exactly.
Nancy, let's do that. Let's
test the water that you're drinking and see what's in that water.
You're making me want to drink more wine now, because now I'm really scared. So Nancy,
there is a reason Jesus made water into wine.
I know. He knew it was coming. But Nancy, we could test water across the country and start mapping just how bad it is.
Do you want to test hotel water? That's an interesting.
No, I think go to schools and test the water. Go to public lands and test the water coming out. Really, I think we should test water across the country and put it up. Like, here's the results so people can see. That would be kind of interesting to go, hello. Yeah, I know people may not like what we're doing on that.
I wonder if there's a way to test air too.
Oh, yeah.
Like the air that you're breathing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I don't know if there's a over the counter test for air, but there are centers that are testing air quality all the time. And there are pollution reports that come out around the world that show kind of where your city or is. I have to say some of the interesting places where a lot of this work is happening is around cities, and there have been a number of progressive mayors that have come together around climate and around pollution in a really positive way. And I think we need more and more of that, where they're willing to, do the testing, understand where they are now and what needs to happen, what steps and measures they can take to reduce the pollution and the effect that is having on their population. So
I'm hoping that this infrastructure bill too would help in regards to, it's not just infrastructure for bridges, but it's infrastructure in regards to piping,
clean energy, all sorts of,
So we may be on a better pathway. So let's leave on a positive note. Spit the plastic out.
I think we are. It is not, it is not too late. I think it is never too late to do something. And every individual can do something. I mean, getting to zero plastic is really challenging, but reducing plastic and being very mindful of how much, you can reduce is a contribution to what needs to happen. And I think every individual and collectively, we can all do this.
There are things that you can buy where you can purify your own water, your own tap water, and filter it. Unfortunately, the holder of the water is going to be plastic.
Sometimes that's changing too.
Yeah,
it is changing. We're seeing a lot more metal. We're seeing a lot more
glass.
And I think the biggest issue isn't even that like all plastic is bad. It's the main drivers are the single use plastics. It's the plastic that gets used once and then spends 1,000 years being broken down. and that to me is the most heartbreaking of the plastics. It's the ones that where it's unnecessary plastic. I feel like there's like plastic that you need, as you were saying, for like, medicine and for, for medical purposes and that kind of thing. There's unnecessary plastic.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Exactly.
But if you filter your own water and put it in a thermos, remember those old things that you used
Yeah,
to
we all
have
have
where
those,
they kept,
yeah.
yeah, the things that keep your coffee hot or your water cool, right? And you use a thermos over and over again, you save a ton of money.
Mhm.
You got better water, and you don't have to keep putting plastic in the trash.
Mhm.
Exactly. And I think
Awesome.
we just need to be thinking along those lines and
Yeah.
and taking those steps, and they're not hard.
Mm-mm.
I want a water testing kit. I'm all geeked out now. I'm the kid with the microscope. I can't get past it because I think it's so cool when you put things under a microscope and you see, like I put up a photo, I shared it from David Attenborough's Facebook page of grass. And if you put a piece of grass under a microscope, there's little happy faces in the grass. Like,
Mhm.
seriously, never walk on the grass again, man.
No.
Get off the grass. So it's cool, but I want a water kit. But absolutely, you're so right. I mean, and also, there's ways of supporting artists. You think about cups, get it from a local ceramicist, that kind of thing. So there's ways we can really help and save money at the same time. A lot of times, if you're saving the green, you're saving the green too. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So very, very cool. Thank you so much for joining us, Patty. We really love what you're doing, not just
Mhm.
in writing this book, but you're doing a lot in writing. You're doing so much in public health. Everyone go to Patty's website. It is patriciamichel.com, and that's MECHAEL. And also get the book. It comes out October 4th through Bold Story Press. You can pre-order on Amazon, especially the Kindle version. Again, it's called The Antidotes Pollution Solution. Also want to thank Margot Carrera. She is an awesome photographer, fine art photographer. And if you want to be surrounded by nature in your home, your office, or you want to be wrapped in nature, go look at her website. Go to CarreraFineArtGallery.com. She's got beautiful gifts, scarves, all kinds of great
Nice.
things, but it all celebrates nature. And if you're having a bad day, just go look at her website. You'll feel a lot better.
It's
So
true.
it's
That's
true.
true.
We do these shows every fourth Friday. So join us again in September. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey.